right. Hey guys, I've got Sage News with me, and we're going to cover the doom and gloom because the S is hitting the F as we speak. And diesel fuel is the topic today because I was just telling him I'm spending $400 to $500 a week on fuel alone. What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going? So basically, I suggest you start investing in a horse and buggy. It's maybe feed might be, then again, feed might be. Yeah. Diesel fuel is getting up there in price. We've got a lot of things going on that are affecting diesel fuel, and I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. So some of the things that's going on is we're now starting to have some shortages of diesel fuel in regards to refineries and processing the diesel fuel and processing that oil to turn it into diesel fuel, right? And you're starting to get that diesel fuel shortages technically all over the world where that use it, right? England and places like that are also, starting to get higher prices in diesel fuel. So diesel fuel is kind of what makes the world go round. There's shortages. What diesel fuel is aircraft fuel. It's processed, basically down to be burnt as for airplanes and things like that. It's gasoline comes from all that. It all gets processed down. And when diesel fuel starts to get into, shortages like from oil and stuff, just for you to get the goods, it has to go on a ship. You want that stuff from China? It's got to go on a ship. That ship is powered by diesel fuel. That ship brings it over to the port. They offload it by cranes powered by diesel fuel. They offload it into a truck powered by diesel fuel. The truck goes and delivers it to you. That's all diesel fuel.
Or train.
Or by train, things like that. Diesel fuel by train.
It's the lifeblood of the economy.
Absolutely. It is what gets us everything we need. So what happens is once those container ships need it, everybody needs that diesel fuel all the way down. And now we're kind of starting to see what happens when it's not there. It's in demand, right? Yeah. So we have a conflict obviously over in a place that we may or may not be able to mention on YouTube. We all know where that's at. And that conflict turns off natural gas, right? Natural gas, they drill down for oil. They pop up natural gas things all the time, right? Well, if you're not powering by natural gas and you're going to tell, hey, Russia, we don't need your natural gas, what are you powering your systems with? You're powering them with oil and diesel, diesel fuel and things like that. And we're finding out that we need that diesel fuel, and it's in high demand right now because we're trying to cut off other aspects of diesel fuel. Does that make sense? Like more and more, we're starting to dive into the fact that we can't just get rid of oil. We can't not, help refineries. We can't now, fund the drilling of the oil and stuff like that because we run out of diesel fuel.
You can't do anything green without diesel fuel.
Right. Because what a lot of people don't understand is how green power works is you have a solar and you have wind, right? And that produces electricity. Well, if the wind's not blowing and the sun's not shining, what gives you that power? Well, it's offset by things like natural gas, nuclear, and, hydro or something else, right?
Reliable energy.
Correct. Reliable energy. But the issue is that you can't just turn off a nuclear power plant and you can't just turn it on. It takes about 2 days to turn it off and turn it on. So when the wind's not blowing and the sun's not shining, that most of the time you're powering by natural gas anyways. So you're still using natural gas to offset. So all you're really doing with wind and solar is offsetting a little bit of power. But when it's not there, natural gas still brings it anyways, or nuclear or something else.
Well, let's get into what's going on with the truckers though. And I bet it's beating you guys up. I bet it is crazy. How's that working with the brokers and the truckers and the fuel and the surcharges and what is about to hit us?
Yeah. So what's actually happening in trucking is with this diesel fuel shortage is as freight slows, freight's based on supply and demand, right? And not so much based on your price of fuel, but it's supply and demand. So you have a lot of freight that's slowing down. We are legitimately seeing the numbers slow down. There's not as much freight coming from China. So the actual freight slowing down. So truck drivers are seeing their spot market pricing dropped down. So it's, let's say it went from $4 a couple months ago. Now it's $2. So they're only getting $2 a mile, but the price of diesel fuel is going up. So the price they're getting paid is going down and the price of diesel fuel is going up. So as that happens, there's going to be a lot of trucking companies from the small, as they start to get to the medium, that just, they go out of business. They can't afford to have be paid lower money and have diesel prices go up. So we're truly coming into a bad situation in regards to trucking. It's going to put a lot of trucks out of business. It's going to put a lot of bankruptcies out there, and a lot of people see this coming, all within the logistics industry.
So is there people getting out right now, left and right?
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers that I know that they can actually sell their truck for more than they bought it for, more than it's worth, because of, truck shortages and things like that. Just like used cars. Used cars are at a point now where you can almost sell a used car more than you bought it for, right? Because used cars, that whole industry has jumped like that. Trucks are the same thing. So a lot of these truck drivers are just getting out. They're just selling their trucks. They're taking that profit that they're making on that, and then they're going to figure something out. Like, I talked to a guy last week that that's basically what he's going to do. He's going to sell his truck. I think he's going to have like a $50,000 profit on the sale of that truck. And then he's just going to say, you know what, I'll take that money and figure it out. I'll figure out what I'm going to do next. But
have you heard? Okay. So my brother-in-law works for a huge paper company, and
yep.
He goes and lines up the timber, a procurement guy for a paper company. And what's happening is people are not logging their land right now because the fuel cost is falling back on the landowner somehow. Have you heard of that?
Okay, so when they log, so what happened? Is he basically okay? So the fuel price for cutting everything down and chopping everything down and pulling that out is normally an offset of the price of the log, right? So if you're going to come in, you're going to cut down my tree and you're going to haul everything off, you're going to pay me so much money. But that factored into that is your cost, right? Yeah. So you got to cut down my trees and you're going to take this whole property. If whatever it costs you to haul it off, to move it, and to do all that, I might say, look, just last year I was getting this. I'm not going to give it to you now for this other piece of property. So a lot of these, and the trees will keep growing. I don't have to do anything. I just leave it. Right. So it's not, I still own that property. I can just let those trees grow. So a lot of the time, like, I got logs, I burn on firewood. Right. So I got a whole truckload last year, which will last me 4 years. When
like a trailer load?
Yeah, a whole trailer load. I'll chop it and stuff myself.
Nice.
Yeah. Trust me, it's about $1,000, and that'll last me, about 4 years. So I've got 3 years left. But a lot of these loggers are basically the landowners are saying, look, I'll wait. I'm not going to, I'd rather make more money off this than lose the cost of fuel and trucking and everything else for you to tote that off. I'll just keep my trees at this point, because either way, they're just sitting there growing. They're not really doing anything.
Yeah, sure. No loss.
Right. And one of the problems is that the biggest thing everybody needs, and I'm going to be digging into this now, I think the biggest thing, we're going to have two problems coming up soon. So what everybody needs to understand, and this is something I'm going to be digging into majorly, is if you think inflation's bad now, once things start to go again, once we start to need things again, and all these trucks fall off and all these trucking, go out of business, inflation is driven by logistics, right? Logistics touch everything at least twice. You have inbound and outbound. Okay. So as all these trucks fall off because there's no freight, if I was China, I would cut everything off to us and then turn it on, and then turn it off, and then turn it on, which they're doing. They did the same thing last May, and they're doing the same. They would start to do the same thing now. Turn it on, turn it off. What that does is consistency is needed to keep everything nice and level for inflation. If you have highs and lows, the inflation goes up. It dips down, people go out of business. We don't have enough trucks. It shoots up. And that's kind of what we saw just recently. So as these truck drivers that jumped into the market, filled the market, they're used to these $5 or $6 a mile. When that drops down to $2 or $1.50 a mile, they're going to go out. Then when it kicks back up again, there's not going to be enough trucks. So instead of me paying $5 a mile, I'm going to have to pay $8 a mile to move my freight because I've got less trucks and we've got this freight coming in. When that happens with the high prices of diesel, we are going to see, in my opinion, we're going to see inflation come summertime or just, into that summer season that it's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal.
Yeah, they're going to price that into whatever's on the shelf is going to be
Absolutely.
$8 a mile. That is crazy. Do you know?
It's going to be brutal, I believe. Once the freight kicks back up, once China starts shipping again, once China opens up and is in business and starts sending all that freight our way, it's going to be brutal when it comes to, because the only way I can get a truck to move a load is pay him more money, right? So if I've got 10 trucks and 100 loads, wow, I got to pay a lot of money to get one of those 10 trucks to haul my load because there's 100 other loads out here. If I've got 100 loads if I've got 100 trucks and 10 loads, hey, I'm in the win. Let's say that I get to pay, now they got to come to me for that. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to have 1,000 loads and 10 trucks. So it's going to be like, okay, either your stuff doesn't get moved or you pay this much money. And that's going to be big dollars.
So when this thing, I always try to figure out how to profit from this stuff. I always talk about solutions, and it might be a good time to get in the trucking industry in 6 months.
Well, there's going to be a lot of trucks that are going to be up for grabs. And when they're up for grabs, then it's definitely going to be something you can turn that profit. The biggest thing now is if you can survive the dip, right? If you can find a way to put yourself in a position in trucking to survive that dip, either if you've got a truck that's paid off, if you can, find a local customer to somebody can keep you moving and stay open, you're going to be extremely profitable when this kicks back up again. It's just one of those things. Now, of course, going to any type of conflict, more severe conflict, like a war is different. But if this opens back up again, which I don't see it not, because they did the same thing last year and the year before, it's going to be booming when it starts to open up. Now, the only other thing you're going to want to tell your people is fuel oil. Fuel oil come next winter could be brutal. It could be, in the eastern states, like me, I'm in Maine and Massachusetts and stuff like that. Like my house I've got like 4,000 square feet, right? But it's an older house and it was run on fuel oil. I have a tank in the basement that they show up and they fill up with, oil, diesel, basically a diesel oil, but it's for houses. Well, the price of that last year in the end would have been $5 a gallon to heat your house. My house would have been, I believe, I have a big house and an old house. I don't use it anymore, but I believe it was like 10 gallons almost a day to heat sometimes for that thing to burn for the size of the thing. I went to wood and wood pellets. So if somebody is using fuel oil to heat your house right now for this upcoming winter, you're going to want to find a way to either insulate that house or find an alternative heating system. Because I think the big kicker is going to be next winter or next fall when it starts to get cold. If diesel price is $7 a gallon, we're talking fuel oil could be $7, $6.50 a gallon to heat your house. That's
10 gallons of.
I believe mine was like that a day. I can't remember, but somebody's can go back and look at to put it in the comments. How much does it take? If you were on fuel oil last year, what was the price? And add about $2 or $3 a gallon to that. And that is a monstrous bill that's going to be to heat some of these older houses. That's the one that, like I said, I'm mentioning that now because I'm now giving you 6 months to prepare for that. But that's one that I think everybody should start to prepare for. Is
No
fuel.
doubt. You can build. I've got a pellet heater in my shop here, and I don't know how much pellets are going to be if it's hard to ship them and if you don't have a pellet plant near you, you know.
Right.
But the good thing about mine is I can jerk the hopper out of it and it'll burn whatever I put in it. I'm also going to make a video for anybody that lasts to the end of this video. I'm going to build a truck that runs off of wood gas. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. I'm going to do that. It's on my bucket list. I'm building a vehicle that will run off of wood. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Sage, but it is bad to the bone. And I know Wayne, Keith, and several guys that have done it. It's a contraption that smolders the wood. It doesn't let it burn, and the gas comes off the wood. It filters, it cools, and it goes directly into the motor. They've used it in the Cold War. In Russia, they've been using these things for a long time. It's not new technology, but nobody's using it. But if diesel's $8 a gallon, $7 a gallon, maybe more, you know, we're almost there now. We're
Right.
talking $1.50 and we're there.
Yeah.
So the problem with it is you only get about 75% of the horsepower that your truck's capable of. So and it doesn't quite go as fast. I think max speeds maybe 75, something like that. But that's going to happen, and that's going to be one heck of a video. It's just going to be very labor intensive. So that's my fix for these fuel prices.
That's a good idea, because like I said, right now the main focus is going to be, if you, in my opinion, is going to be, how am I heating my house come winter? I need people to start thinking about, how am I heating my house come winter? If I'm on fuel oil, take a look at diesel prices, figure something out. You mentioned a pellet stove. I've got a pellet stoves. I run on pellet stoves and wood. If you've got something, if you've got, I've got a back room that if I needed to, we could live in that back room, and that's a wood burning stove. Right. If I had to decide that I can't heat this whole house, I can heat the back room and I can stay warm. It's one of those things that there's going to be high prices in fuel. And in my opinion, start thinking about alternative ways, wood or something like that, if you're on fuel oil.
Or natural gas. Natural gas is, man, it's going to go to the moon. You know, it's fuel in general.
Right. How do I heat my house? Well, for me, it was wood. Wood burning stoves was my first.
Me too. That's what I heat my house with. It's awesome. Radiant heat is wonderful. I don't wake up, my sinuses aren't dried out. I think everybody should have a wood stove, and you don't even have to hook it up. You can get your wood stove and stick it in your shop. They're cast iron. They'll make it a long time outside. I wouldn't recommend keeping anything outside.
Right.
But stick it in the pole barn, stick it up. And if you ever need it, all you need to come up with is some stovepipe, and you're set. You know,
right.
Knock a hole in the wall and go with it. It'll keep you from freezing. I mean, that's something.
And that's the biggest thing too. All we do, like I said, in our thing is we fire up the stove and we turn on one fan just to circulate air around the room. Bam, done. I'm opening windows if I need to in that winter. It's like, oh God, it's warm in here. And like I said, I get for $1,000, I got 4 years worth of heat for $1,000 for my stove.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I just had a big oak tree hit by lightning. It's this big around. It's 46 inches in diameter.
Cut her up.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut it up and bust it up, and that's my cardio. That's what I use for cardio in the summertime.
Absolutely, same here. But like I said, if that's the biggest thing I'm telling people now, is if you have another option to be able to burn wood, get pellets, alternative, or insulate, do stuff. This year's goal I'm telling people should be to either insulate or find a way to be able to heat other than just the natural gas. And I always recommend wood, natural gas, diesel, that type of stuff.
That's great, man. That's a really good thing. Get a wood burning stove. It's not going to go down in value. I can promise you that.
No, it's not. You can cook on it. You can heat with it. It does a lot. And like I said, in my opinion, even if it's something I think this is something that needs to be talked about now. That way people can be ready down the road. This is the prep stuff now.
Yeah. I'm going to build another pellet stove and maybe do a how-to video on how to build a pellet stove. They're so simple. I could have the parts cut out and mail them to people. They could weld them together. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You should. 100%.
I'll do that. That's a good idea. All right, brother. Well, thanks for coming on with me. And for everybody watching, go check out Sage News. Check him out. He's got his thumb on this pulse of the trucking industry, and you need to watch everything he does, because he had some really cool guests on too. I come on every now and then.
Yeah, we're coming on. Like I said, we've got a lot of stuff I look into, everything from China to all kinds of stuff, different geopolitics, logistics, things like that. Definitely check out the channel. I'm trying to get to 15,000. So I'm at 14.6, but I'm working. I'm getting there. I'm working at it.
Yeah, me too, brother. Well, I'll see you around 15,000 pretty soon, I bet.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good one. Later.
See ya.